Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.
KLEK 102.5 FM. Good morning to you on your Tuesday. It is May 23rd, 2017. This is Community Conversations. Kato Wonder is in the studio with you. And joining me today in the studio is Dr. Richard Wang. Dr. Wang is a professor of political science at Arkansas State University. And Dr. Wang has actually been on our show before when he was a candidate for the Jonesboro City Council. But today we're just going to talk about all things dealing with politics in the political science department at Arkansas State University. So how are you doing today, Dr. Wayne?
I'm fine, Mackenzie. How are you? It's nice to be here, by the way.
All right, well, so Dr. Wayne, just kind of tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and your background.
I've been in Detroit. I'm thinking Detroit this morning, talking to you guys. I've been in Jonesboro for 30 years. I came from Detroit, where I did my graduate work at Wayne State University and lived for 11 years. Met my wife. We came here in 1986, I think, yes. And this is home. I grew up around Buffalo, however, so I'm a Yankee that has come south and has made a home, happily so, here in Arkansas. Raised a wonderful young woman, a child, now a wonderful young woman named Abigail here in Jonesboro. So, and I've tried to connect to this city in every way possible over the years, and has generally been connected in various ways. Humane Society, of course, my university job is what brought us here. And it provides all kinds of opportunities like this to speak to the people of Jonesboro and connect in various ways and make a contribution, I hope.
All right, well, Dr. Wang, obviously you are a professor of political science at Arkansas State University, but for those listeners out there that may not have any clue what actual political science is, could you let the listeners know what the definition of political science is?
Well, that's a good one. There are 10 of us, 11 of us in the Department of Political Science in Arkansas State, at A-State. We all do different things. We come prepared to teach different material. Some are comparative folks, and their definition of political science would be pretty much driven by their specialized area. They're international relations folks. We have a theorist on campus. I'm a state and local, primarily urban kind of guy, but I also teach American national politics as well, in government. We all bring something. There's stat people. There's public administration folks. We have a focus on all of these areas, and in particular, our newest focus is on public law. We have this wonderful young man who's been with us now 6 years, I think, and is really drawing students to his classes in all kinds of things: constitutional law, civil liberties, pre-law studies, basically. So we're a very diverse department. We're small, but we're diverse nonetheless. And for each of us, political science means something a little bit different. For me, it means the study of power, the study of who holds power. Focuses me, to the extent that I get focused at all, focuses me the relationship between government at the state, local, and national level as well, and our economic system, the market system, that interests me. Political economy in our discipline. The economists use that term differently, but that nexus between politics and economics.
And that's definitely something. And that's definitely something that is definitely having an impact in current events. So,
sure.
We are speaking with Dr. Richard Wang, professor of political science at Arkansas State University. And of course, if you have a question for Dr. Wang, you can give us a call at 870-277-1080. Once again, that phone number is 870-277-1080. You can also leave your questions and comments on our Facebook live stream, as my intern, Miss Michael, is kind of grooving to the background music. I saw her bobbing her head.
It's hard to miss it.
I know. I decided to wear a wrap on my head today, kind of just to keep all my braids in place.
I like it.
Keep
I
it.
like it.
So, Dr. Wang, in today's political climate, why is politics so very important? Why is it so important for people to stay in the know politically of what's going on, no matter where they may fall on the political spectrum?
Sure, sure. It's always been important for citizens to be informed. In a democracy, the assumption for our framers was that we'd have an informed citizenry. It wasn't a broad citizenry. There were many folks, many people not included in what we called our civil life. But today that's different. Now we're all included happily, and it's even more important today that citizens of all walks of life, wherever they may live, be plugged in, be aware, be conscious of what's going on in their communities to the best of their extent, the extent of their abilities, rather, and their time. I mean, we're all busy. It's so important in a democracy to for the people to try to get involved and influence the system and keep our representatives accountable and connected to us in whatever way we can. We all owe it to the system and to the future to do this. State legislature just out of session. How many of your listeners, Nancy, do you think were abreast of what was going on in the state capitol in January, February, and into March? Or March and into April. Probably not many. It's hard to follow, but it's so important. They did so many things that affect our lives.
And what are some of those things?
My answer is it's very important.
Well, before we get into that, Micah, did you have something? Because I saw you were looking.
Yes, I began to write my question down, but I wanted to ask. You said make sure that everyone stays involved and understands. Other than staying involved and understanding while watching television and seeing the conversation or the topics of conversation at hand, what are some reputable sources to actually pay attention to, because there's so much?
And before you answer that, Dr. Wang, I want to add the caveat to that is, okay, obviously now we've gotten into an area where there's so much mistrust of the media. You know, there's some people who are quick to decry fake news if a news source doesn't agree with what they say, and then you have such a proliferation of, especially now with the internet, of quote-unquote news sources, and this goes on the left and the right. You know, anybody with a computer can basically put together a blog or a site and claim to be a news source. So kind of tagging into what Micah said, how do you discern what is legitimate and what is not?
Sure. It's a really good question, and I think about it some, and I talk to students about it as well. It's very difficult for, especially these freshmen and sophomores, they're 19, 20 years old. Very difficult for them to discern, to weigh, to decide where to get their news. They are bombarded like no other generation before them with diverse sources of what's called news. We have a president that is encouraging this notion of fake news or alternative facts in his administration. This is extremely challenging for young people. People my age, we've seen this before. We've never seen it in a president. But we've known the Donald Trumps of this world. We've lived a while, and we've known these people. These kids, a lot of them never have. And here he is, the president, encouraging his people to talk about alternative facts. These aren't coming out of the ether. This is all a strategy to undermine the confidence, in my opinion. And I'm not some crazy, wild-eyed radical here, but in my opinion, it's an intelligent, not a random, right, planned attack on free media. what I do is I tell my kids over and over. And the last thing I said at the end of the term, 2 weeks ago, to my U.S. government classes, 2 of them, is you have to have a discerning eye, and you have to respect your senses. You have eyes to see with and ears to hear with, and it's so important that you respect those eyes and those ears, that you cultivate those eyes and those ears. You cultivate it, you train them, and you respect them, and you listen to them. If you have eyes to see with and you're willing to see, and ears to hear with and you're willing to hear, right, then you're going to be okay. Even today with the president that's arguing, no, that's not what I said. I said over here, I said this. No, we have it on tape, doesn't matter. Those are challenges to your eyes. And you say to them, I have eyes to see with, right?
Michael, did you have a follow-up for that?
I was just sitting here listening. So, just to kind of piggyback off of that, being that, yes, we do have eyes and we do have ears to see. I love the fact that you told us to respect our senses. What about the rhetoric that is used in the verbiage? How do you
in the
discern
political discourse?
Exactly, the political discourse that we have to swing through.
All I can say is that you need to not try to listen to everything and watch everything. And I have to do this too, and it's easy for me. I hate social media. I don't go there. I just don't. I go to public broadcasting, PBS, publicly funded, and some, at least for now, and it will be okay. Trump will not cut funding, or he may cut it, but he's not going to cut it off. Like those PBS stations that I have listened to and watched, whether there was NPR on the radio, right, National Public Radio, good news stations, good news, qualified, down the middle. They deal with facts. They understand what facts are. So I look at radio. I love radio, and I always listen to NPR, National Public Radio News. PBS stations from Arkansas and Memphis. Good news, the news hour every day, 6 days a week, the news hour. I try to get there. I can't always, but that's a solid base. Listen to that, right? You don't have to be cruising the net all the time. These are centered, right, stable icons, and they really are the news. The Washington Post, the New York Times, the Associated Press, pieces in the newspaper. Everywhere, even our local paper has AP stories. Those are professional journalists that care about the facts, that see their jobs. They're not perfect, but you don't have to go to these websites that have no standing. They haven't been around a while. There are places to go, and it will help with the confusion. Here, these guys say you can't try to hear everything. It's a cacophony, it's noise, and pretty soon, like a lot of my students, they say, I can't believe anything anymore. Well, I understand that. Focus on these icons, as I say, these news icons, whether it's print media, and radio, and television, all three, and you'll be so much farther ahead.
We're speaking with Dr. Richard Wang, professor of, I almost said history, political science. Well, history and political science do actually tie together, but professor of political science at Arkansas State University. And of course, if you have a question or a comment, you can give us a call at 870-277-1080. Once again, that phone number is 870-277-1080. You can leave your questions and your comments on our Facebook live stream. And Dr. Wayne said he's not a fan of social media, but we do have some people who are watching him today on social media, and we want to shout them out. Shout out to Ramey Cryer, Patrick Hilson, and Marcus Woodson. Appreciate you all for checking in on our Facebook live stream. Now, Dr. Wayne, getting back to our discussion about news and news outlets, one of the, of course, with the plethora of news outlets, you have, pretty much sources that can pretty much tailor to your viewpoint, whether it's liberal, conservative, or something else. And a lot of times people only will follow sources that conform to their worldview, as opposed to looking at other sources that may disagree with them. Whereas in the past, when there was only like 2 or 3 news sources that offered different points of view, people were more forced to hear both sides. So what do you think is going to take to get people to open themselves up to viewpoints that they may not necessarily agree with? That's one of the things that, since starting KLEK, I've talked to several people that have come in here, and not all of them I agreed with, but my goal was to still treat each and every one of them fairly, hear what they have to say, and then ultimately make up my own mind who I believed and who I chose not to believe.
Yeah, it's a huge problem, and to some extent, it's I hate this, but I sort of have room for it and believe it. It's almost human nature to be to want to be with folks who think the way you do. There's a comfort zone that we tend to seek. I think I've always been an exception to that, or generally been an exception to that, and I hope I always will. But that said, technology has a lot to do with it as well. Again, the plethora of media, news outlets, and opportunities allow you to shop around, and you shop around for information that, the way we say in class, confirms what you already quote-unquote know. Your comfort zone, you're not challenged. Therefore, that's confirmation, right? It's called consonance. It fits in. It's consonant with what I already know.
And I think a consequence of that is that you have pretty much so much gridlock, especially on the national level, and it's even starting to trickle down to the state and local level, because people won't open themselves up to other viewpoints. They're, it's like my way or the highway, and nobody seems to want to solve problems anymore. It's not a okay, well, I think my way is the best way to solve this problem. No, I think my way is the best way to solve this problem. Let's come together and try to take the best of each and come to an agreement. I'm going to quote Nate Looney. He says, neither side has a monopoly on good ideas. But now, what you see in politics now is, because people can now tailor, their information to fit their worldview, they're just not willing, to even listen at all, and it's causing gridlock.
Yeah, and it's
Michael, did you want to chime in?
Just to piggyback off of what you just said, and to also add on to what you were speaking of, whenever you kind of, I guess, mix company and with thinking, how exactly do you debate each other respectively for those that do not know how to do that? How do you take away your perspective to listen to someone else?
Well, first is to put yourself in a position. The hard part is showing up. Woody Allen said, it's, what do you say, 80% of success is just showing up? Show up where you're going to have folks that think differently than you, dissident sounding, against sounding, that are going to challenge what you quote unquote know. Show up and try it. You'll figure it out. What's happening is that we're avoiding those situations, and we're becoming isolated and secure and safe. We all want, fits in my head. We all want safety, which is totally unattainable.
Exactly.
I mean, why is this? And we're scared, as a people and around the world. To some extent, we are more than usual, and so we seek safe zones. We try to be safe, even when we're talking about politics. We don't want to be challenged.
So what do you say to those students
I say go to a place, right, and mingle. And I say to my students, get thee to a city, Shakespeare would say, right? Get thee to a city where there is true diversity, and you can find those havens. But sorry.
To the students that have been walking out of their own commencements to make a point, What do you say to them? What do you say to the students coming in that are watching that?
Let's pick up on the other side of the break because I know Dr. Wang will have different interesting responses to that. And there's actually a couple incidents. One was when these students walked out on Vice President Pence, and then there was another at the Black College in which Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos was booed during the commencement speech. But we want to get Dr. Wang's
You're
thoughts.
answering for me? You're gonna let me answer after
Well, yes, I just don't want to have to cut you off.
Because I say right on to that.
Yes, sir, and I know that you
Okay,
definitely
sure.
have a lot to
It's
say
your
about
time.
that. Once again, we are speaking with Dr. Richard Wang, professor of political science at Arkansas State University. Once again, you can give him a call at 870-277-1080, or you can post your questions and comments on our Facebook live stream. Don't go anywhere. This is KLEK 102.5 FM.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
Have you told your kids not to talk to strangers? I'm Mark Merrill with today's Family Minute. Well, actually, the concept of stranger can be confusing to children. So instead, teach them to recognize unsafe situations. Warn against adults who might stop to ask for directions or help in finding a lost pet. Tell your children never to go anywhere with an adult who doesn't know the family password. Teach your children that it's okay to run away or cause a loud scene if they feel someone might be dangerous. Talk to your kids and then role play to make sure they know what to do in an unsafe situation. Remember, your family first.
Want to connect with Mark on Facebook? You can at facebook.com/Mark Merrill.
Family Minute is made possible by the Kappa Nu Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, a non-profit organization committed to service to all mankind. Kappa Nu Omega Alpha Kappa Alpha on Facebook and KNOMEGA1908.com.
When police officers and firefighters say goodbye to their families before leaving for work, they know in the back of their minds there's always a chance it could be the last time. Police officers and firefighters put their lives on the line every day for us. Let's let our local heroes know that we appreciate what they do.
Brought to you by Metro PCS, offering Android phones, iPhones, and cell phone accessories. 2 locations in Jonesboro, 1001 East Johnson Avenue and 311 South G Street. 870-520-6266, 870-520-6074. Support for KLEK is brought to you by
Fullness of Joy Ministries, 2120 Thorn Street, Jonesboro, under the direction of Bishop Adrian Rogers and co-pastor Susan Rogers. www.fjministries.org.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
And we're back on Community Conversations on KLEK with our guest, Dr. Richard Wang, professor of political science at Arkansas State University. And we have another Facebook shout out to Helen Scott. So appreciate everyone who is tuning in on our Facebook live stream. And of course, if you got a question or a comment for Dr. Wang, feel free to leave those comments, or you can give us a call at 870-277-1080. Before we went to break, Micah had a question for Dr. Wang. She wanted to get his thoughts on the recent protest at some college commencement ceremonies. There was one at, I believe it was Rutgers. I can't think of the...
I know for sure that it was...
can't remember the name of the school, but
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. But students quietly walked out when Vice President Pence gave his commencement speech. And then there was another at Bethune-Cookman College, which is a historically black college and university, in which when Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos spoke, the students booed. And of course, the commentary on both sides were interesting. On one end, you had those people who said those students had the right to protest, and then those others who said that they were disrespectful, that you stop being quote unquote snowflakes if you can't just, when you get out to the real world, you can't just walk out on somebody that you don't like. So Dr. Wayne, kind of want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, when you think about it, Secretary of Education DeVos showing up at an historically black institution, by invitation of the administration, by the way. This is almost, I hate to use this word, but it was fantastical. I mean, you can't make this up. Whose idea was this, and what did those that invited her expect? What did she expect? She has spent her adult life, or much of it anyway, the last several decades, attacking public schools, funding candidates for political office in the tune of millions of dollars, inherited money, right? Money that she got through her marriage and through her family connections, millions of dollars and of her own resources given to further the campaign and the efforts of those running for office and pledging, agreeing to attack public schools.
Do you think that her take on her new position as far as being in bed with the collection agencies and so forth has anything to do with that?
Holy cow, I didn't know about that, but I know that Trump appointed her. I mean,
yes, sir.
He told us he was going to do something of the sort, and he did. Hers was very controversial. If you listen at all to the Senate hearings,
but she was only confirmed.
Wonderful.
It took Vice President Pence to cast the tie-breaking vote to get her in there.
Exactly right. And that was a good moment. I mean, it was a wonderful moment.
But
we're going to have a lot of those moments. I think I want to be a little more positive here. We're going to have a lot of those moments, or more of those moments, in the weeks and months ahead, as we head toward what I think is almost going to be unprecedented. As this president loses more and more of his ability to get his agenda considered and established, I think he's going to get angrier, and then what happens to this young, this fellow who often acts like a 5-year-old. And we've seen it in the last couple of weeks every day, and the media just loves this, right? I mean, this is great. And in the classroom, we people like me, we talk a little bit about it.
So what if? Let's kind of touch on that a little bit. In your classrooms, what are the discussions like? Do you notice that there's a pretty diverse group of students, conservative and liberal, or how when you all have discussions? Because obviously, I think anyone that knows you knows that your leanings are a little bit more left, and we live in a community that tends to lean a bit conservative. So I'm sure it makes for some interesting moments in the classroom.
Well, it's talking to someone yesterday who took my class 25 years ago, and she's grown up to be a really lovely person. We do yoga together, and so we were talking yesterday about, she just asked innocently about, how'd the semester go, and I got a little cross some lines, and I did. Driven that way by this administration and by the response to it, and by my passion. And I said, I have my politics, and I called her by name. I won't now, and said, you remember my politics? I bring them to class. And I said, you didn't like them. I remember that. And she said, you're right. I still don't. She says, that's fine, but at least I have them. And then I took the comment, I commented, and Patrick Hilson, if you're still out there, he's on our faculty. I'm not referring to you, Patrick, if you're there, if you stuck with us. But these youngsters that come in with their PhDs and they often don't bring their politics with them, if they have any politics. Sometimes I wonder. And I
do you think that's more because of?
It's a little different now.
But do you think that's a little bit more because? Obviously you're fully tenured, so you have that bit of freedom that maybe a young professor who's just starting out may not have.
That's not true. That's a lie. That's a damn lie.
Well, educate us, Dr. Wang.
Let us know.
No, I mean, I had these views from coming here again. I came here from Detroit. I had these views from day one, and I opened my mouth from day one. I was on the faculty senate pretty much from day one. No tenure. I never worried about it. I had a family, had responsibilities, and no one ever. I had one occasion where somebody tried to tried to make me pay for something I'd said. But they weren't in my tenure track line. I didn't worry about it. And I never had a problem from this university. All the administrative changes we've had over 30 years, and I mean, it's just amazing, right?
And now we got a new one coming.
They support academic freedom. They support the freedom of the individual to speak in his or her classroom and openly. It's not, that tenure is a threshold, right? But I didn't have any problems pre-tenure at all that way. So if you're afraid, you bring that with you. This institution has been remarkable.
May I interject and just ask you, where exactly did you get your politics? Did you inherit them from your family, from your parents?
Double helix.
Your double helix?
DNA. It doesn't work like that, does it?
No, sir.
So you live a life and you accumulate. It's almost like baggage. You accumulate those politics. For me, it was really coming back from the Army and going to a state university college in New York, Fredonia, a wonderful place, where I really, really began to collect some of this baggage called political perspective or bias, if you like. I'm not afraid of that at all. Detroit, though, and Wayne State University was a wonderful place where you had unions. You could go across the street and go into the Ruther Library and go into the boxes if you have a need to know and study the United Electrical Workers Union, Local 53.
And what initiated that exactly?
Those are politics. So
your craving for that, your craving to understand and to know more about politics. What initiated that? What triggered that?
The streets in Detroit.
The streets in Detroit. What was going on?
I was there at a time when the first black mayor came the year after he was elected, Coleman Young, and the city was already experiencing what we could only look ahead 20 years and see 10 years and really about 10-year period. I was there during that period where that city began to come apart at the seams. It had been happening for some time. And you had the city's first, actually the first black mayor in a major city, Coleman Young. An amazing administration that he put together, and there were projects, a couple in particular I could talk about, but won't here, that really got me involved in the political process at the local level. I came there from a city in western New York, Jamestown, New York, where I worked for the mayor for 2 years with a new BA in political science. He taught me about the capacity of local government with leadership, with proper leadership. I saw it in Detroit, writ large, over this huge city, by Coleman Young and the people he brought in, and the possibility of change from the bottom, from the streets, from a city. There's this old bromide, and I've had it forever. All politics is local. Nobody really, knows what it means, except I think I do. For me, it means it starts at the local level.
Because it's ultimately about the things that affect you.
It's accessible. You can walk down to the city council or the quorum court meetings and sit in and watch it.
And we want to get into that right quick. But first, let me do a Facebook shout out. Shout out to Quabila. Quabila says, Dr. Wang is cutting up. I love it. And one thing that we want to get into, because we want to make sure we talk about this before we and also shout out to a comedian, Stephon Smith. But let's talk about the millennials. And one of the things that has been noticed, I'm going to let Micah kind of steer this since she is a millennial, but there seems to be a lot of voter apathy among millennials and minorities. They feel like the system is rigged, that they have no voice or anything like that. So, Mike, I want you to give your thoughts on that, and then let's bring back Dr. Wang.
My thoughts on the apathy that is shown toward voting within millennials is because that we don't know, and we weren't brought up to know. Meaning that, yes, certain things may have been, televised and, publicly, topic of discussion, which it is now, but think about what had to happen in order for us to become involved. We had to have someone to say, oh, well, the young people don't matter, or the young people have this, and this. Oftentimes, people win because of our vote, but when things like Trump happen, we feel as if it doesn't matter at all. Because if the numbers say one thing, and then the Electoral College can completely change the rules in our minds, then what's the point?
Oh, I hope not. See, and I had that question once.
But since I've been here, I'm sorry, but since I've been here, I've understood that what you said, the local level matters more. What you do on the local level will determine that Electoral College. Am I correct or am I incorrect?
No, you're not exactly correct, Micah. What we try to do, and I think all of us in the department try to do this, especially this last semester, is to define the limits of power. So we have institutions. Yes, the framers established the Electoral College as a check on the power of the people, right, to elect the president that they might want to elect by popular vote. Why not just popular vote? The winner is, that's a decision rule, right, in a democracy supposedly, yes. So they constructed this institution, called an elite institution, by the way, the Electoral College, for the purposes of choosing the president, a buffer between the upper thrust of the voter, the people, right, and the office of presidency. By design, they didn't like democracy. They were not a champion of democracy. They didn't care about the people. To them, the masses were asses, and they said as much. I can say this on air, can I? No, it's too late.
Well, we do have a disclaimer. These are your views and not the views of KLEK and the Voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council.
So they were not proponents. They didn't give us a democracy. They gave us a representative system, right? And those representatives were, and still to some extent are, elites among us. So the Electoral College was just one of those. And here's the good news: that Electoral College has lost that role primarily of choosing the president. It is a system that Donald Trump didn't create, and he didn't abuse. It's there. It's George Bush in 2000 was for the first time in the modern era, right, won the presidency and lost the popular vote. Right? And this happened. It happened in 2016 again. It will happen again. The idea, though, is that the popular vote does matter. It's just in the 50 states plus D.C. The counting is that you don't count D.C. and Virginia. You can't, right? Together and lump them together. D.C. has its 3 electoral votes. They are offered at, determined by the popular vote, which is the majority rule that we talk about. So
see, that's where you lose me.
Well, so we put it, but I don't have a blackboard. See, that's,
I know.
Well, Michael, let me see if I.
Just put it
Michael,
in,
let me
in
see if I can
millennial
kind of
terms.
help. You don't understand how the Electoral College actually chooses the president? Is that?
It's not that. It's I don't understand how exactly that could be the system if the system that they have set in place.
Well, if you remember your studies from American history of government and anything like that, the framers actually were afraid of the population. The reason why they didn't want direct election of the president, they were afraid that the population may choose a madman, and I'm gonna just leave it at that. No,
yeah,
but okay, but let's just say choosing someone, that they felt that didn't know what he or she was doing. So the Electoral College was put in place because they thought, okay, let's let cooler heads prevail, and just in case the people choose somebody that we don't think is fit, then that can, like Dr. Wang said, be a check to ensure that, someone who the population may want it, but, I guess the people who quote unquote knew better didn't want. That's what the original intent were. If you remember, when at the time of the Constitution, and Dr. Wang can either back me up or correct me, originally only wealthy white male landowners could vote, and so those were the ones that were considered the only ones that were capable of having the decision-making power. Remember, also African Americans were considered 3/5 of a person, and women had no right to vote. So it came down to these wealthy white landowners that were the voters, and they wanted to make sure that I guess the common people who they felt were already beneath them didn't pick someone that didn't agree with what they wanted. Dr. Wang, again,
Yeah,
if I'm wrong,
it's
correct
true.
me.
It's all true. It's all true. But it's the Electoral College has lost its capacity to check anymore. And we have parties now. Back in the day, we have political parties. We all know who the president is on election night, right? On November 6, 2016, we knew that what's his name was going to be the president. No matter what, we all freaked out. Some of us did. We knew that, but the Electoral College didn't cast their votes until December. 5 weeks later.
And there was a push,
the Electoral College is not involved like it once was. Right?
And Micah, there was a push, by some people to said, look, let's not elect Trump. Let's go ahead and pick somebody else, because there were some concerns about his presidency. But the electors, still chose to pledge the votes.
They should have.
And now there were about a handful of what they call faithless electors who basically voted against what their state vote was, and a couple of them actually were electors pledged to Hillary Clinton, who actually flipped their vote. So it wasn't just faithless electors on Trump end; there was some on Hillary's end as well.
Yeah.
So based off
not a
of
problem.
what you all are saying, I understand more. However, taking what you just said into account, the common person matters less than who has the ability to change things, such as a parent. If you say, oh, Mom, I want this, I need this, and she looks at it like, well, that's not where you're going to get. I want you to have what I want you to have. And then all of a sudden, something bad happens down the line because of a certain detail that may have not been intertwined within your asking.
Yeah. Well, you're right to be cynical. I am quite cynical about our system. There's this expression, and I think it was Benjamin Franklin that talked disparagingly about, critically about democracy, and he said democracy, where the majority rules, is the decision rule, democracy, that's like two wolves and a lamb sitting down and voting on what to have for lunch. And you think about that.
Interesting.
Two wolves and a lamb, that lamb's going to be
slaughtered.
Voted. And that's kind of a very cynical way of looking at our democracy, our so-called democracy, because the campaigns are no longer fair and open. Our campaign districts, our 435 congressional districts, there were only 12 seats in 2016 in the House. 435, all 435 were up for election. 12 incumbents. An incumbent that chose to run again. 12, and if all 435 ran, 12 lost. 12.
Well, Mike, as we get ready,
something's going on here that young people see. They're not stupid, and we see. It's called campaign finance.
Well, as long as there's big money in politics, there's going to be difficulty with that.
We need to deal
But
with
as we get ready to go on the break, I just want to say this, and this is in regards to you, Micah, and to anyone else that's listening. This is why voting is so important, because we can go back and forth about the Electoral College all day, but at the end of the day, Donald Trump became president because of 70,000 votes. George W. Bush in 2000 became president over 537 votes. Every vote counts. So if you stay home and you don't vote, you can't complain. You want to make a difference? Get out and vote. This is Community Conversations. This is KLEK.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
We're back with Money Matters. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. When it comes to building wealth, it's important to know who your friends are. Here are a few clues. Pay attention to when they come around. If it's only when they think you have money, such as on payday, they're drainers. If they ridicule your efforts to change your financial habits, for example, by calling you cheap or stingy, they are not enrichers. Even if they don't want to give up expensive dinners or weekly shopping sprees, they should be encouraging and supportive of you as you sacrifice to achieve your financial goals. If they can't think of any way to socialize with you that does not involve spending money, They are drainers, not enrichers. And if they treat you like an ATM but only make withdrawals and never deposits, they're drainers. Recognize those who are not supportive of your financial improvement efforts and keep them at a distance. In time, instead of them putting you down, they might be inspired by your example. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. for Money Matters, a product of American Urban Radio Networks.
Money Matters is made possible by the Jonesboro Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, a nonprofit organization dedicated to uncompromising commitment to communities, service, leadership, empowerment. www.jonesboroalumnidst.org.
Money Matters is brought to you by Bancorp South, offering checking, savings, loans, credit cards, and wealth management. 5 locations in Jonesboro to serve you. www.bancorpsouth.com or 870-972-9800.
Arkansas Early Learning is accepting applications right now for childcare. We have locations all across Northeast Arkansas. Applications at arearlylearning.org. That's arearlylearning.org. Right here in the community at no cost. Arkansas Early Learning offering kids a head start.
Arkansas Early Learning is a nonprofit organization.
The key to making this station even better could be parked in your driveway right now. Donate your old car to us, you'll get a tax deduction, and we'll tow it away for free.
Go to KLEKFM.org for more information.
When a woman gives her all to a boyfriend, she is hopeful about the future. Marriage was in her future plans until she received some shocking news. Now with her dream shattered and life altered, she has to pick up the pieces and move forward. It was in this experience that she realized that love has no protection. KLEK 102.5 and Massey Production presents the inspirational gospel stage play, Love Has No Protection, a story that will inspire you, renew, and reaffirm your faith. Featuring performers from all over Arkansas, Texas, and Louisiana. One big show, 7 p.m. Saturday, June 24th at the Arkansas State University Student Union Auditorium. Tickets are $10 in advance, $15 at the door, and can be purchased at KLEK, Cool Cuts, and online at www.klekfm.org or by calling 870-277-1080. Bring the entire family Saturday, June 24th to the Arkansas State University Student Union Auditorium to see Love Has No Protection, the inspirational gospel stage play, 7 p.m. This event is a KLEK fundraiser.
Just added a special 3 o'clock p.m. matinee show. That's right, now it's going to be 2 shows, 3 o'clock p.m. and 7 o'clock p.m. The hit gospel stage play, Love Has No Protection, coming to the ASU Student Union Auditorium June 24th. Don't miss it.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
And we're back on Community Conversations on KLEK with our guest, Dr. Richard Wang, Professor of Political Science at Arkansas State University. And we've been having a very great discussion throughout the hour. And of course, you can join in by posting your comments on our Facebook live stream or giving us a call at 870-277-1080. Got a Facebook shout out to Mark Pillow. Appreciate you checking in on our Facebook live stream. Now, before we went to break, I made a statement, and Dr. Wang wants to challenge me on it, so I'm going to let him challenge me on it. I said earlier that if you don't vote, then you can't complain, and Dr. Wang wanted to challenge me on this. I'm gonna let him set me straight on that one.
Well, there's voting and there's complaining, right? There's voting and then there's voice. We're born with, just as we're born with eyes to see and ears to hear, we're born with a voice. We should learn to use it, right? And not be afraid to use it. Use it, learn to use it by using it. You don't have to earn that. That's given to us as a result of being born in this country, which is a great country. So
but isn't the right to vote given to us as well?
It is. I don't see the connection, though. You can't take away my voice just because I don't choose to vote. There were periods in my life where, especially in Detroit, where I didn't vote. I was hanging with people that we wouldn't, and my way of dealing with that is, quote Mark Twain, I don't vote, it just encourages them. And so we were thinking about not voting. We didn't vote for a reason. So many people vote with no reason. I preferred to not vote back then. I vote now, but I preferred to vote back then for a reason. I'm not voting for a reason. I'm not gonna vote with no reason. And today I try to vote, with a reason, cast a reasoned vote. If I don't, I still feel free to go to the city council and stand up, as I haven't done it in a while. It's about time I get back, but and raise my voice. You can't take that away from me. It's not something I earn. It's something it's an inalienable right. Life, liberty, right, and happiness, and the First Amendment protects me in that, and I love that about this country, and that single solitary voice, that single solitary soul, is so important in this country. So yeah. I don't like to qualify it, by you got to vote in order to speak. No.
And I get what you're saying, but I just still, me personally, feel like voting is just so important. And like you said, voting with purpose, not just to get in there just to be just doing something, but educate yourself and know what it is that you're voting on. Of course, we could continue this discussion, but we're running a little late on time. And one thing I did want to make sure that we got across before the end of the hour is, how can people get involved in the process? And we kind of started a little bit about things such as voting and, like you said, going to the city council and making your voice known. So, Dr. Wang, what are some other ways in which people can engage themselves in the political process to use that voice that they have?
Yeah, you train your eyes, your ears, and you believe them, as I said earlier in the program. You learn to raise your voice. You develop as you do that, you develop what is the skills that you need to be a learner. It's a learning process. You don't become I'm a citizen and I know. You learn as you go, and you become better as you participate. So participate in some way. You can write letters to the editor.
Shout out to Mrs. Farrell.
You can, I know, but you can volunteer in a political campaign. Local is much easier because it's right here. Your campaigns you can volunteer for. You can express yourself by making a campaign contribution of some sort, no matter how small, right, indicating you want to support this particular voice as opposed to that. There's so many ways. You can watch these, what I say, icons of the news industry, these trustworthy, right, professional news outlets, and get your news in this way and keep up to date on the latest in that way and educate yourself. There's so many ways to do that, and you got to start somewhere. And so just start, and you'll see. You may get caught. I can speak with some passion about contributing and about volunteering and about becoming, about raising my voice, because I've done it, and I genuinely appreciate doing it and appreciate the opportunity to do it, and I celebrate that opportunity by doing it. Mm-hmm. You celebrate the opportunity by doing it, and you protect. I tell these kids, these 19-year-olds, I'm afraid for my retirement years. You got to protect my voice. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure, how many of you would protect, communists to speak on this campus, and some of them say, oh, no, not on our campus. I worry about you guys. You protect your lack of tolerance for people's views. Are presenting a threat to my retirement.
And some people
my freedom as I get old.
They may not feel comfortable with protecting certain things if they don't feel protected.
Yes,
think about it as of now.
I think there's we could talk about that. I think there may be something there. Yeah, but I appreciate your voice today, Micah.
Thank you. I appreciate you too, sir, as well.
All right, so Dr. Wang, we've got about 4.5 minutes left. So, anything else that if you could say or give any advice to anyone out there about anything in the field of politics, especially on the local level, kind of bringing back to all politics is local, what would you say to those listeners and viewers out there?
Well, first, the Jonesboro, at least, this city that we live in, most of us, Jonesboro's made it much easier. They bought some technology, and they have created a city hall. I don't like it's too small, a council chambers that is situated in such a way you can watch from home. That's fairly recent, right? And the opportunity costs are little, right? And watch the goings on in our city. City politics is interesting and it's important. It's so important. You can have a conversation with your city councilman from your ward. We have a ward-based system, but we vote them in at-large elections, as you and I talk about.
And we discussed it on our thoughts on the matter this past Saturday.
Yeah, and so how do you feel about that? Study up on it. What is a ward system? What is an at-large system? You don't need me anymore. More and more, I don't want administrators. I know they're not watching, but they're listening this morning. But so I can say this: more and more, you don't need folks like me. I mean, these students, they've got this right in their hand. They can go and Google before I can explain what an at-large system is. They can get it, right? They don't need me to explain that. You've got books to read. You've got this incredible. I hate these, but I love them too. I'm gesturing to my hand. These phones, because the cost of information are almost zero. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. I used to have to go to the library and really go and which was wonderful, right? I still do, but. This Dr. Google or whatever, he's great. He's great. And so anymore they don't really, and they'll come to their senses about that and they'll displace us. They already are with online teaching and all of that and these huge enrollments. But you can take advantage of that technology to learn, to train yourself. What is an at-large system? What's a ward? Maybe you can start a movement, join a group. Say, let's have an at-large award system that might be better for us in certain ways. And get started that way. Make some changes. Become politically involved. Become political animals in a small way. Locally is easy because they're right down the street. I do a from the field paper in my upper level classes every semester. And it's incorporated. The crux of it is a local issue or a state issue that you care about. And I refuse to tell them what that is. And they come back and they write these papers and they come up with their own ideas. It has to have an interview that augments basically what the issue is. But they define the issue, they do a little research on it, and they always find, almost always, that this is really interesting. I'm glad I did this. Right? That's okay. And we don't beat our chests and it's a wonderful thing, but it's for many it's their first foray, their first time in sitting down and talking to someone, a state rep or a city councilman.
All right, well, Dr. Wang, we got 10 seconds. We're going to have to leave it there. We want to thank Dr. Richard Wang for joining us today. It's always a pleasure to have you in the studio. Hopefully you all enjoyed this interview. You guys have a great and blessed day. This is KLEK 102.5 FM.
Thank you for listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community